Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds. This is where I like to collect together all the different things that I've picked up over the past week, present it to you, give you a little bit of background on it, but also maybe be able to turn you on to something new, but if nothing else, remind you about something maybe that you got in your own catalog that you want to pull out and enjoy and listen to. I've got 14 things that I want to talk to you guys about and show you some pretty cool things in my opinion. Hopefully you're going to enjoy it. We'll get into it here in just a bit. But before we start, if you're new to my channel and haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like. All those things do help support my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by turning on notifications, you'll never miss an episode and stay up to date on really cool things like this with New Music Finds. And as always, I like to kick off with new releases, the stuff I just got, because I don't know about you guys, but I love getting new stuff from my favorite artists. And in particular, this one that I want to start with here is something that was a bit of a holy grail for me, and I think a bunch of other people that were out there as well. And so I'm talking about the expanded edition for Bruce Springsteen's 1982 album, Nebraska, referred to as Nebraska 82. So this one here has 5 discs. It's a box set, and it's kind of cool because we just got a 7-disc box set of lost albums earlier this year already. And one of the ones that was not included in it was Electric Nebraska, but that's what's in here. So we kick off with the Nebraska outtakes, 9 tracks that didn't make the album. Electric Nebraska, which is recorded with the E Street Band. And if you know Nebraska being a solo album that is done by Bruce Springsteen, recorded on 4-track in his bedroom. So no E Street Band. We're getting an electric version of it with them. We then get a live rendition of it from the Count Basie Theater 2025 and a new remastered edition of it for 2025. So all in all, a very cool box set. And so for me, at least, it was those outtakes and that electric rendition. That was the holy grail. That's something that myself, as a Bruce Springsteen fan, I've heard about time and time again about Electric Nebraska, and always wanting to hear what that album would have sounded like had E Street Band been backing up Bruce. And I would have thought we would have gotten it by this point, and when he put out tracks to the lost albums and it didn't come as part of it, I started to really get worried and think that Bruce would never let that stuff out of the vault. But I didn't know he was saving it up to coincide with the release of the major motion picture Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere, which is the story of Bruce during the time of recording Nebraska. I never really looked into it. I knew it was a biopic. I kind of thought it just started at the beginning and maybe went up through Born in the USA being the height of his career, but I didn't realize they would focus it on Nebraska, this in-between time frame. And so this is sort of like an unofficial soundtrack where it's really giving you sort of shining the light on and showing you the behind the scenes of what was going on in Bruce's mind and his head at the time, and what could have been, but what wasn't, and ultimately what became is in this right here. Also of note, the soundtrack to the movie itself has Jeremy Allen White, the actor, singing, and so it's not Bruce Springsteen's songs, which I think is one of the reasons why this is so important to get, tying into that, and we can really dive into it and enjoy that both before and after watching that movie. So that really enjoyed, super excited to get it and having lots of fun with it. I have done a full review of that, and I will leave a link in the description if you want to check that out in more detail. Something else that I was very excited to get was also this. Bon Jovi, Forever, the Legendary Edition. 14 tracks, having 2 more tracks than the original album. The original album came out a year ago in June of 2024, but this one here, just dropping this past Friday, October 24th, It's a duets album. So it's been reimagined with all these guest vocalists on it. And we get people like James Bay, Robbie Williams, Jelly Roll, Jason Isbell, Ryan Tedder, Warren Treaty, Joe Elliott, Billy Falcon, Lainey Wilson, Avril Lavigne, Marcus King, and the one and only Bruce Springsteen, which I was a little bit surprised to find out that those two New Jersey rockers had never recorded together before. So leave it to Bon Jovi to get him to turn up on his album. And now we've got this new version of the album Forever, but with all these cool guest vocalists. And since Bon Jovi has just announced their global tour for this album, it's sort of a reintroduction to the album itself, and maybe kind of also helping to shine a light on it, because I think it was overshadowed a bit with John Bon Jovi's vocal issues, the documentary that came out on Hulu that was talking about all of that. And a lot of people didn't really give it the time that it deserved, I think. And so this here is a way to do that. I've also done a full review of this, so I will leave a link to that in the description as well. All right, now the album that I think I've enjoyed more than anything else that I got this past week is the brand new Bangalore Choir album, Rapid Fire Succession On Target Part 2. And if you know the album On Target from 1992, this has got to be one of the greatest glam metal albums that ran under the radar that barely anyone knows about. It came out on Giant and Warner Records, but not a lot of people know about it. Frontman for this is David Reese, who was the vocalist in Accept, who took over for Udo after Udo left. But this is the project that he did after it, and it is so very good. And so 2 years ago, they released the album Center Mass. And this was supposed to be a return to form album that was in that vein. And it was a good album, but it didn't capture the album On Target at all, in my opinion. And that's fine. You know, how are you going to get back to 1992 from 2023? So I didn't give it a lot of thought. Good album, all in all, but no On Target. This album, on the other hand, is definitely a direct sequel to On Target. There are songs that sound similar in vein, but in all, the songs are just of that way over the top, powerful lead guitar work style stuff that just stick with you long after you've heard this album. If this is one of those albums that certain songs jump out at you and think, my goodness, how is that song never a hit? You're going to listen to this and say the exact same thing. So for those of you that are glam metal fans out there, even if you don't know Bangalore Choir, this is an album you want to check out, because you're going to be shocked at how amazing a 2025 album is that sounds like it comes from the late 80s and very early 90s of the original scene. That's what this is. So very good. All right. Another one that I was very excited to get and see is the Ronnie Romero album called Backbone. This being his second solo album of original material, although it's actually his fourth solo album. Two of those albums are albums of cover songs, where he was doing songs of the 80s and stuff like that, which was really cool to hear and everything. But kind of odd for an artist to start his solo career with two covers albums before veering off into actual album worth of original material, which was the previous album. And that one was one of the best albums that year when it came out. This one here following right in line with it. Just great, powerful, over-the-top vocal performance. He still reminds me a lot of Ronnie James Dio, and with Ronnie James Dio being gone, this guy here can take up the mantle. He surely does. And the songs that are on here, the album, the style, all of that is just as good in my opinion. So check that out. Highly recommended. Now this next album, I ended up not pre-ordering, and I mean, I did pre-order, but like not way in advance. It was just kind of one of those ones that I was like, you know, I've got everything else by this band. Let me just throw it on and I'll get it too. But I wasn't expecting a lot. In fact, when I listened to the first couple singles released, Didn't really do a whole lot for me, but as soon as I got it, this album changed my mind. Talking about the band Soulfly with Max Cavalera from Sepultura. This was the project he did after leaving the group when they did their album Roots, and he wanted to continue on in that tribal sound, but the band didn't really want to go in that direction. He leaves the group and forms Soulfly. And the first few albums that they do are very much in that vein, and I love those. And then they got off and doing a whole bunch of other sort of stuff. But this here, in my opinion, is really getting back to those roots, pun intended, because this stuff here is very tribal and it's very good. And I listened to the album, it was just one great track after the other. And then the album was over before I knew it. And the album itself is only like 32 minutes long. It's a very short album. And it is 10 songs, but it just kind of flies by, meaning that nothing stays so long that it wears itself out. And it just gets to the point, it rocks, it presents itself, and then it's over and it moves on to another great song. But this one here, Chama, turned out to be really good. So, shocked too, because with me listening to Bruce Springsteen and then trying to listen to glam metal with Bangalore Choir or Bon Jovi, to then have some thrash metal from Soulfly, I really kind of thought it just wasn't going to click, but it did. And it's been very good. All right, switching gears back over to glam metal, we got Heavy Pettin', and the album is called Rock Generation, and it's their fourth studio album. The band only made 3 albums back in the day, and to finally have them coming back doing this, they've done maybe an EP here or there kind of a thing, but they hadn't made a full-length album. And the frontman still has it. He still sounds like he did back in the day. And this one, like Bangalore Choir, is just another one of those albums that I can't believe how good it is for a band that has been gone as long as they have to come back and make an album as good as this. Again, if you're a glam metal fan, you've got to check out the new Heavy Pettin' album. So very good. All right, these next 2 are ones that came out the week before. I just didn't get them in time. I got them a little bit later on. And so being able to show you now, Foreigner, All Engines On. This is live in London. Kind of not a lot of hoopla behind it. It is a show from 2010, so it is with Kelly Hansen, who unfortunately now has stepped down. He's not even with the group anymore. He did his last tour over this summer. But it was at the iTunes Festival. They did 10 tracks on it. Sounds fantastic. And I just was kind of one of those things where I decided, you know what? I want to get it. I want to have it in the collection. It is not a live album that was part of some other compilation, because the band has tended to do these like 3 CD sets that they put out that'll have like a re-recorded album, a live album, a remix album, or something like that. And I thought this was part of it, and then it turned out that it wasn't. So I decided to go ahead and get it, and ended up really, really enjoying it. So added that to the collection. And the band now is one of those bands that has way more live albums and compilation albums than actual studio albums to their name. And some bands are just like that. Foreigner's one of them. But this next one here was totally worthwhile. And I didn't know what to expect or what the quality would be, but Y&T, and it's live at Sherwood Hall, California, October 1st, 1983. And it kept getting pushed back and pushed back. And so I didn't know if I was ever going to see it or really what the quality was going to be, because it's out on the Renaissance Records label, which is not a major label. And I really wouldn't have expected this to be on a major. But I mean, I kind of thought it would have been like on Frontiers or something a little bit bigger. So I was a little bit worried about it when I saw that. But I gotta say, the sound quality of this is really good. If you want to hear a great, powerful rock album from Y&T, this is it. Definitely put this in your cart. Check this out. I don't think you can stream it. At least it wasn't up when I first got it. I did want to throw it onto my phone to be able to listen to. So I don't know if it's now popped up and available, but if it is, check it out. But if not, it's totally worth getting. The sound quality of it is really, really, really good. And it's definitely worth having in your collection. There's only 9 songs on it, and it is from the first 3 Y&T albums, not counting the 2 albums they did before that as Yesterday and Today. There's nothing from those albums on here, but from, Earthshaker, Mean Street, and Black Tiger, those 3 albums are represented, and it's 1983 when they were out on the road for, I don't remember if it's Mean Streak or Black Tiger, which was the third one, but when they were out on the road for that, that's what that was from. Okay, and another one that I picked up is from the band Pixies, and this is a demos collection. It's from the legendary Purple tapes, which is the first recording sessions from the band in 1987, and it's now finally getting an official release. It's being put out by the Cooking Vinyl record label, which does really cool albums. They kind of do a really good cross-section of stuff. I've covered some stuff for Record Store Day on here before where they've done like Roger Waters, they've done Alan Parsons Project and stuff like that. They've done, trying to think some other stuff that I've had, but great albums from a really cool cross-section artist. And this one here, Pixies, demos from 1987, very raw, very much something you would expect from the band, but it shows you how they were starting out, how they were going to gain their foothold and be a little different than everyone else. And that's what this is. 9 tracks on it. Check this out from Cooking Vinyl. All right, and then in the mail, I got 5 CDs that I had ordered from Heavy Metal Museum, an online record store that has a site on eBay that I really like, and they've always got cool stuff. I don't know how they track this stuff down and keep it in stock, but they've got some very cool things. And so the first thing I want to show you is this one, the original Iron Man 2, and it features Paul Di'Anno and Dennis Stratton, 2 original members of Iron Maiden, Dennis Stratton being on guitar, Paul Di'Anno being vocals. And so this is volume 2, and I have volume 1 already, but I had never had volume 2, so it's very cool to get it. Now, what I did have in my collection was this, Beyond the Maiden by Paul Di'Anno, an anthology that had 2 CDs worth of tracks. It's got 15 on the first one, 15 on the second, so 30 tracks. But the last 3 tracks on disc 1 are live Iron Maiden songs like Remember Tomorrow, Wrathchild, Children of the Revolution. That one may be a cover, I mean. And then on the second disc, there's 2 on here, Phantom of the Opera and Sanctuary. So, and there's some other cover songs on here like Play That Funky Music, but just ones that I didn't really need. But when I found out that this comes from 2 albums that I think were European only, and I was able to track this one down a while back and got it and very much enjoyed it, but hadn't seen the second one, and I finally got it. But if you've never checked these out, the original Iron Man, which features the 2 guys from Iron Maiden, it's some very cool sort of hard rock, hard melodic rock, I guess, because it's not Iron Maiden at all. It is not that progressive, and it's not metal. It's definitely melodic hard rock, but it's just very good music. And these 2 guys sound great together. Dennis Stratton sometimes takes lead. Paul Di'Anno does most of the lead on it. So this was one that I got and really enjoying it. But if you want to get this stuff, you can find this collection that's out there. It's been re-released a bunch of different ways as the 2 CD set, but they throw in a bunch of other stuff. Otherwise, you can try and track it down where it looks like that. Okay, so another one that I got was the debut album from the band Tangier, 1985. And I knew the band from their 2 later albums, which I believe is Four Winds and Stranded. And so both of those albums are a little bit more bluesy, hard rock, glam metal sounding. This is a little bit more sort of melodic rock, glam metal sounding. But it's the same guys from the second album, at least. They would change singers from Bill Mattson to Mike LeCompte on the third one, which is a really great vocalist also. And I saw that version with Mike LeCompte open up for Extreme. But I always liked the band Tangier. And to find out that they had this LP only, vinyl only release, I've never seen it on CD. And so I found this. I think this is a bootleg, but it is on Aquanet Records, limited to 200 copies. And maybe that's released in some other country where bootleg laws don't apply or whatever. But the 9-track original album that, as far as I know, is only ever released as an LP, I now have a CD copy. And I never found an LP copy of it, much less. I had a burned copy of it that I had found from a Russian website that had MP3s, and I downloaded it and ripped it and had it that way. But this sounds so much better and very good, worth having. Even with its little bit different style sound, it's been very, very good. All right, I got my third 220-volt album, Eye to Eye. This one here, maybe my favorite of them all. I think this one was 1987 when I looked it up. It's produced by Max Norman, who I know worked with Dave Mustaine and Megadeth, among others. But this is just some really good glam metal, shred-style guitar playing music that, I don't know, this band ran under the radar for me originally, and it was something that I only came across them much later on, and I've slowly been tracking down their albums. And this was one of those Japanese reissues that is now getting domestic releases here in the States. So you're only paying like $15.99 for them, but the original Japanese albums, if you had bought them at the time, or even tried to track down one of those Japanese copies, they'd run you $30 or more, but you can now get them for like $15.99. And you can get them through like Amazon and stuff like that. But I know the Amazon ones, they're sold out already. And this place, the Heavy Metal Museum website on eBay, still had one. Okay. And another one that turned out to be really good is a group called House of X, which used to go under the name X UFO because the members were former members of the band UFO. And they had gone out and done live shows and recorded a live album called the UFO Files, I think, and played live UFO material and that sort, but then eventually wanted to record an album of original material. And I think there was an issue with the name and they weren't allowed to use it for whatever reason. They changed it to House of X. Of course, if you read the story today, they say they wanted to have their own identity and change their name to House of X. But I always remember it being a legal issue that they changed their name. But these guys coming together and recording this album, and it really is some great British hard rock music. That if you've never checked out, it's out on Escape Records, and I think it came out in 2014. So it's been out for quite some time. I don't believe these guys are together any longer. Danny Peyronel is on vocals. He played keyboards for UFO, but we got Rocky Newton in there, and he played with MSG, so Michael Schenker also. But all the guys at one point or another were either part of UFO in some way. Lawrence Archer's the guitar player who did High Stakes and Dangerous Men, or whatever that album was, from like 1992. So he's the guitar player for them. He also played with Grand Slam. Clive Edwards in there, who was drummer with Iron Maiden. But he also plays on that album. So those are your four guys. A little bit of a British supergroup coming together under the name House of X, making this one album. And as I said, some really good British hard rock. All right, and the last thing that I picked up was Van Steffensen, and the album is called Righteous Anger. And the reason that I knew this, I picked it up on LP, but the four backing musicians that are here, some of these guys would go on to be in the band Giant, and I knew Giant. So when I looked at this, and I said, well, it's got Mike Baird and Dan Huff. I know those guys from Giant. We got Alan Pasqua here as well, and Dennis Belfield. And so I thought, well, geez, I want to pick this up to see what these guys are doing. Who is this guy, Van Steffensen? Well, I didn't know at the time. But I got the album, I think it's 1985, and it's just a very good melodic hard rock album. And there would be more ties to Van Stephenson and Giant later on in songs that they would co-write together and stuff. But this has always been one of those albums that I've wanted but never seen a CD copy of it. And finally, Melodic Rock Classic Records reissued it. And this is very recent. And I had pre-ordered it, but went on back order until eventually listed as unavailable, and Amazon canceled my order. And I was sort of like, well, geez, now I don't know how I'm going to get it. And I figured eventually I would track it down some way, but just wasn't getting it. And I found a copy on Heavy Metal Museum. So it's very cool to get it through there. And so finding these 5 albums, and I ordered them on Monday, and I think I got them on Wednesday or Thursday. So it was just really cool to get them so quick, after placing the order for something that I wasn't paying any extra exorbitant shipping from. And they came well packed and everything was in good condition. So not only did I have those new albums that are old but new to me, but then I had all this other new stuff that came out as well. 14 things. So really had a great week musically with all my new music finds. I hope you guys out there as well had some really cool finds. Weigh in, let me know what you picked up. What was your favorite find of this past week? Did you get anything new? Did you get that new Bruce Springsteen or Bon Jovi or even the Bangalore Choir? Weigh in, let me know though. All right, everyone, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.